Welcome to another Biddle on Saturday night. How is everybody?
Yeah, good.
Excellent.
Excellent. All good here.
Before we go any further, let's make sure everybody can hear us in chat because last week we had issues. Sound all good, everybody?
Yep. Good here.
Give us a thumbs up. Chip, can you hear us?
Nope, there's Barb.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right.
Everybody can hear everybody. That's a good thing.
Can hear us.
I think so.
Yep.
I guess.
Hello, Barbara.
Hello, I can hear everybody.
Excellent.
Hi.
Excellent.
How
Hi,
do I?
Bob.
Do I sound okay?
Yep.
Sound fine?
Good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I hear you.
That's all that
Dan?
counts.
Now, why is my Firefox not seeing the video?
I don't know.
If we could do a quick refresh. But Rocco, I think this has got to be
No,
the
I've
most
got
number
video.
of participants at a first start.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good opening.
All right, must be my browser.
I blame Dark One. It's his fault. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so we did a distro challenge this week for any Ubuntu 1810s, any of the flavors that were out. But before we get into that, Steve has a question about fonts. Steve? Hold on, Steve. You with no sound, brother. Hold on. Your mic was working.
How's this?
There you
That's
go.
better.
All right. Yeah, somehow my Zoom settings got shrunk down to 0. No, the question I had was, I mentioned last week when I was on the show that I was really impressed with the font rendering in Ubuntu Mate. And I've been using the other system that I like to use is Bodhi Linux quite a bit. And I've installed Kitty, Neon, and I was just wondering, you guys distro hop a lot more than I do. Have you noticed a significant difference in how smooth the fonts are rendered? I don't think it's just the resolution of my screen on a particular computer. It seems to me like Mate has the best font rendering out of all that I've used so far. The fonts look the cleanest. They're the smoothest.
Elementary.
I haven't tried elementary, so.
Yeah,
Is there what causes the font rendering differences? Is it the underlying framework? So like Mate's on GTK3, Neon is on Qt, Bodhi's on like that really wacky EFL Enlightenment.
It's the way it's configured in the system. I know on stock Debian, if you install stock Debian out of the box, the font rendering is pretty bad. But you can go to the home folder and create a .config.conf folder, and then there is an XML script that you can drop in there, reboot the system, and all of a sudden you have clean font rendering. So it has a lot to do with the fonts that are selected, the scaling of the font, and the way that it's being rendered. And different desktops handle that in different ways.
Yep.
Is there a specific XML that you can download off of a GitHub somewhere to start you off?
There is one. The YouTuber Don't Call Me Lenny has a link to his GitHub page. He has one created there. That's the one that I use.
Nice.
If you go to Google and type in his YouTube name, followed by fonts, Don't Call Me Lenny, Don't Call Me Lenny, Debian fonts, it should be the first link. And in the description, he has a link to the GitHub.
But it also depends on the NVIDIA driver or a driver as well and how that's rendered.
Yeah,
Well, I have Intel graphics for all my computers, so I don't really have the NVIDIA issues.
and there's also the aliasing settings that could also affect fonts.
Yep.
I'd have to agree with that because when I upgraded to this new machine, okay, I have the same exact operating system, the same layouts and everything. And when I switched over to the new hardware with the NVIDIA driver and that sort of thing, the appearance is much crisper, sharper, even the fonts and that sort of thing. But also, pixel fonts can also add that extra bit of crispness. As a former Flash developer, I used to avoid those quite a bit back in the old days, and I sometimes still use them in video production.
All right. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, I guess so. It sends me down a rabbit hole
I don't remember.
to try to get better font rendering in my Booty Linux. So
I'm going to go ahead and drop a GitHub link into the chat here for that XML file that I mentioned.
Excellent.
Zeb, you going to post that? Barb, you run Mate. I don't remember if there's any specific settings for font rendering.
No, there isn't, and I've never had any problems with it, no matter what resolution the screen is or anything.
yeah, I don't have
They
a
always
problem in
look
Mate.
good.
In fact, I think it looks amazing in Mate.
Yes, it does. It looks really, really good.
I mean, I think their font rendering blows away anything that I've seen so far in the other distros I've used.
Well, I have to admit, out of the box, KDE is not the best font rendering. Even though I love KDE, it's just not. So.
Yeah, I've used Neon, and I wasn't as impressed with their font rendering as I was with Mate.
Yeah, Mate does a really, really good job.
You have to tweak it. Let's put it that way.
How you doing, Rocco?
KDE though,
Ricky,
they're sure getting lighter.
what's that?
You know, KDE.
I said, how you doing?
Hold on, Ricky. Spatry, what were you saying?
The KDE isn't nearly as bloated in memory as much of a memory hog as it used to be.
No,
I've noticed
it ain't.
that. It's some. Look, I've just looked at a two distributions, and I was really surprised at how little memory it used by comparison to what I was used to KDE 4 using. So I think they've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Well, KDE 4 was.
And they've done a lot of optimization so that it tailors itself to your system to use as little as possible to get you the best experience on whatever hardware you happen to have.
Yeah, it will take up the memory and the resources if you have it, because I know I'll watch videos and people will say, well, I'm running Neon at 400 megabytes or something like that, and my Neon doesn't run under a meg of RAM. Like mine is always above 1,000. So but that's because I have the memory in it. It's going to use it. So all right, so let's move on to the Ubuntus.
My Lubuntu experience has been not so good.
Oh, I'm having a ball with it.
Yeah, that's quite a good point.
Wait. You know. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on.
All right, let's go. So that because there's so many people, let's go in some kind of semblance of order so that everybody's not talking over everybody. So Zeb, what did you try and what did you think?
Well, I'm still on my 30-day sabbatical, so I'm no longer a hopatitis at the moment.
No, Zeb, I don't think you heard us. Zeb, what did you try?
For once, I'm in Barbara's camp, and I'm just enjoying.
I can't believe it, Zeb.
You're enjoying a distro, Zeb. Come on.
It's so much fun.
Dare you have so much fun on one distro?
It's great.
In my famous words, next.
All right. Matt, have you tried any of them?
I have not. I just switched my workstation over to KDE Neon, actually. Other than that,
congratulations.
Other than that, my distro hopping has not. I'm in the same camp Zeb is. I'm on like week 3 of not distro hopping.
Wow.
Well, I'm saying that about Neon, but Ask Climby, I had to message him earlier and ask him how to uninstall the 410 drivers of NVIDIA because I was having all kinds of issues. First time in months that I had issues on KDE Neon. I mean, everything was freezing. The menu was freezing. Nothing was responding. 3 times in a row I had to reboot because it was just a mess.
I was going to say, I haven't had any issues with Neon because I'm on I think it's the 398.7 like long-term driver. So
right.
Because my graphics card is an older Maxwell, so I don't see the point. I don't see the point in upgrading. My 396 is working fine on the other one, so and I don't see the point in trying the beta 410 drivers.
Yeah, well, like I said, I tried them, and I'll just stay to the 396 until everything's worked out.
Good to know.
Well, I'm stuck on legacy drivers because my hardware's so old.
So to answer your question, I'm in the same camp as Zeb. Next.
Wow. This is terrible. Dan.
I'll try to save the show here.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
Shade Throne? Wow.
No, so I've been on Lubuntu 1810. And
Nice.
LXQT, the transition to LXQT has been good for them, I think. It is it's a lot more modern. It's very nice. Nothing but good experience here.
Any errors? Any major problems? Nothing.
Oh, there's a few things here and there, but kinks are getting worked out, and hopefully, we'll see. We should have things pretty smoothed over, I think, by the time release candidate rolls out.
Feedback going back to Simon.
Yeah.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
He's actually been in the development channel recently, helping out a lot. So, yeah. Hopefully, we can get those things solved.
This is awesome.
Nice
This
one,
is
Dan.
absolutely awesome. So, are you going to join the Lubuntu development team, Dan?
Well, I'm certainly going to try to help him as much as I can.
Nice.
Cool. Awesome. Matthew.
I tried 1810, just standard Ubuntu, and most of it worked. My printer didn't work. I use a network printer with the driverless IPP stuff, and apparently that's changed in this version, and it doesn't work like it did in 1804. I'm not crazy about the new theme. It's kind of inconsistent. If you go into the top corner, Spatry has it on the screen. He might be able to show it. If he goes into the top corner and look at the volume sliders, they're blue in color, while the highlight color in the file manager is orange. The highlight color, the accent color in GNOME Shell itself is also orange. The highlight color on radio buttons are green, and the desktop highlight color for window expansion and overlays is white. This is a significantly inconsistent theme, and somebody like me with OCD, it drives me nuts. So I don't like the theme. I absolutely hate it. I think the new icon set is nice, but the theme definitely needs some polish, and the printing situation needs to be fixed. Other than those things, it works like you would expect Ubuntu to work. So,
and Matt, so quick question. If you change the theme, do those inconsistencies go away?
They do. You can install like one of the Arc themes or Numix or even the old Radiance theme. They all work the same. It's just
after you install the theme tool, because it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
doesn't-
you have to install the tweak tool to change the themes, but yeah, other themes do have a more consistent scheme going on. The Qt applications still don't honor GTK themes. That's still there. That's been a problem in 1804 as well. The best solution I found for that is you install the Qt5 style plugins package, and you add the line to your etc/environment file for GTK. And that seems to fix it. That same workaround works in 1810 as well.
Mm-hmm. So a question we like to ask is, did you submit a bug report about the theming?
There has been posts on Launchpad forums by me and by others, and the response was that these inconsistencies are actually on purpose. I don't know why, but that was the response that was given. Yeah, that's what they said. They said that it was intentional. I don't know why, but that's what they said.
Make sure people were paying attention. Yeah.
Well, everybody has a different look or a different.
Well, they said
opinion on
something
theme.
about user changeable items are one color, system static items are different, or some mess like that. I'm not sure I bought their explanation, but that's the one that was given.
That's a little confusing.
So it is. I like a consistent and a very very consistent, very good continuity on my desktop. I don't like opening one window or one utility and it looking this way and then opening something else and it looks different. I don't like that. It's very jarring. And
it's also very unfinished looking. I mean, that's when you see that, it's not, there's something, you need that consistency, because otherwise it's not very polished.
Yeah, I recently read an article on how you can modify colors within an existing GTK3 theme. I used to do this on GTK2 all the time. You just open up the theme.rc file and you could change the color codes and the lines. GTK3 is a little more difficult, but I think that if you took the ARC theme and replaced the blue with the Ubuntu orange and black, I think that would be a really good looking theme. I was going to try that, but I didn't have time to figure out how to do it. So, but we'll see.
Ubuntu has always been known for their lavender orange theme, and yes, everybody thinks it looks awful, but I mean, you know, when I think about all of the different versions of Ubuntu that I've looked at over the years, I mean, there is a level of consistency, even if it's something that just makes me want to throw up. You know?
Well, it is consistent from one to the next, that's for sure, but the consistency within its own desktop is you know what I'm referring to. You know, when you have one button, one color, a different type of button, a different color, it's a jarring experience. So, and
I think that's what they have in mind. You know, you're going to download some themes off of you know, either from a repo or you're going to download them from one of the many websites that offer themes. So, you know,
yeah. I mean, how many people here actually keep the stock theme? You know, probably not very many. See, there's 2, 3. Yeah, out of how many?
Simon?
Yeah.
Well, that depends. Is a starter distribution, and then they move on to other things like Arch and Manjaro, Fedora, and CentOS, and all these other projects that are out there. You know.
Yeah.
This is a training wheel distribution. I mean, come on. I mean,
no way.
You are absolutely wrong. You are absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely.
I did an update on the system today, and it told me, okay, it's time to reboot, you know, and you need to restart the computer, have the dialogue and that sort of thing. It even has that little drop-down thing, you know.
Well, you know, Canonical wants to keep things familiar and, you know, to those Windows users coming over. So the reboot prompts and the weird lock screens, you know, they got to keep the Windows users happy. You know?
They're trying to make Microsoft happy because they're simply embedded in the
I wouldn't consider that. So, prospectively, I personally would not consider that to be like something to be a starter or a training wheel specifically. I think that that's more a development of a holistic user interface. If you don't have the prompts and you don't have the features and functions that allow you to do a lot of the extra pieces and components, because not everybody wants to go to the terminal if they don't have to. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a person who deploys systems on large scale or if somebody who's actually just doing a single install for their own personal use. And on top of that, if you're installing Linux for, say, a family member who really just wants to be able to have those features and functions just apparent to them, then that's going to be a little bit more personable than, say, throwing Arch on a machine and saying, here you go, have fun. So
Right.
I don't really think it's a training wheel thing. I think it's more of a more specifically just something that just has the holistic components. You know, just, it's something there that's been defined and redefined, and it's good for anybody to use because there's a lot of different people that want those features and functions in place and don't want to have to go to use the terminal who've been using Linux for 10 to 20 years.
I'm one of those people.
Well, so many times you hear people.
Century.
So many times you hear these people who say, like, I had the one time I was at work and I was talking to a guy about Linux, and it was one of the times where they didn't look at me with 3 heads, and he said, you know, do you still have to install it in a terminal? And all of these things that you're talking about, like the reboot dialogue, those are the things that where they're walking a fine line to modernize Linux so that it is a modern desktop, and yet maybe not be so hold your hand as a Windows operating system. So there is a line that you want to walk, that you do want to have nice features. You do want to have a a desktop that looks good and that is familiar to people, but you don't need it to be overdone. So I guess that's going to be all opinion based.
It is, but like for the power user, most people that tend to dig deeper into the system, we know that using a terminal is a lot more efficient if you're good at it. So there's that, like all the GUI elements, it's more resources. It slows the system down. Terminal gives you a lot more control and it's a lot more efficient. But I wanted to follow up on something the other fellow said here when he was talking about mass deployment of Ubuntu. Certain distributions are stronger in certain areas than others, and that's one area that Ubuntu excels at. Remote system network management, Ubuntu is probably at the top of the list because of the stuff Canonical has done with it. And when it comes to hardware support, in the Linux world, Ubuntu is probably one of the best distributions for hardware support. So, even though a lot of people, more advanced users, don't like Ubuntu, they don't like Canonical and the things that they do, maybe there's some trust issues there because of some of the things they've done in enterprise. If you're deploying a cloud system, doing wide deployment across multiple systems with remote console management and are running on a range of multiple types of hardware, Ubuntu excels at all of those things.
Yeah, because you can incorporate something like landscape with it.
Yeah,
which is amazing. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah, and Canonical patches their own kernels, so you might find greater hardware support in Ubuntu than even in regular Debian because of that.
I will follow that up with a when it gets to my turn. I will follow that up.
All right, Simon. I know you're, Lubuntu dev, Kubuntu guy, but you. Tell us what you think about the 1810s. Seriously, are they ready? Are they not ready? Are there major problems? What?
Just Lubuntu in general, Lubuntu as a flavor, or just in general?
Either one, whatever you want to touch on.
A couple things that have happened just in generic Ubuntu. They've done a transition for LXD. Or LXD, however you want to pronounce it, which is an amazing command line utility for managing like Ubuntu containers almost. So it's basically a virtual machine except for the kernel. It's like I said, it's amazing for if you just want a 1404 command line system, just spin it up. But they've transferred that from a deb to a snap. So now it's completely maintained with a snap, and it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth because the transition didn't go as smoothly as I thought it would, and it just, in general, just doesn't work quite right yet. But I guess they got to do it right after the LTS so they can get the stuff sorted out. Other than that, just in general, I think things have been handled pretty well. Lubuntu is actually, we've been progressing really much, really a lot in the past couple weeks. We have, for example, things that are landing now are we're going to have consistent theming between Qt and GTK. We have configuration for GTK themes native in LXQt configuration, which is something I get regularly from people. They're like, why can't I configure GTK themes from within LXQt? So that's all handled. One thing that Matt was talking about, installing the Qt styles plugin, we used to have that just installed by default, but it's one package that has a bunch of different themes in it. Now there's like some BlackBerry themes and whatever else in there. So I split that up into different packages so that people can install like the GTK3 theme, and Qt could actually use the GTK theme instead of having each theme be it's just all in one package. So that makes things a little bit easier. Otherwise, there's a lot of different changes, like too many. I could go on for a while on how many changes we've been incorporating, but we've had a lot of different. Wendy's been helping out a lot. Dan's been helping out a lot. We've had new team member named Hans helping out a lot. The team's growing, and we're really incorporating a lot of different changes from a lot of different places in, and we're getting there. We're honestly, the release candidate deadline is cutting up a little bit too short, but we're still getting there.
Yeah.
So,
how do you feel about, you mentioned snap packages. How do you feel about snaps?
My opinion is very, very negative against them. Yeah. Yes, this will surprise some people. They have a time and a place. Web browsers isn't exactly something I would like in a snap, but something like a welcome center or something like that, where you need a consistent experience, and you have freeze guidelines or something like that you just can't meet, yeah, there's going to be cases where you need snaps. My personal opinion on the technology is it's not there yet. They're preaching it and they're getting everybody to snap things, and I think that's a good effort.
That's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction, but I think definitely desktop integration has a long way to go.
Yeah.
Couple different pieces that have been like this for about a year or two now just aren't there yet, and I want something like this to succeed, but it just doesn't meet all the check boxes yet. It just doesn't, as a distributor in 1804, Lubuntu was the only flavor that did not ship Snap-D by default, because I had serious technical concerns about because Lubuntu being a lightweight distribution in 1804 and previously, we had concerns about how it would start up and still use a lot of resources when it just wasn't doing anything. We don't have any snap ship by default, and so there was no reason for us to ship it by default. So things like that, where as soon as they fix some things with that, we're going to look at including it back by default in newer 1804 installs. But in general, it's not there yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It needs a couple different things, and it's just, with the pace of how it's been in the last year or two, I don't think it's going to be there for a while now.
Well, I ran into some issues with Ubuntu 1804 when I went to install it. The Snapcrafters repo was offline, and because of that, it didn't properly install certain components.
Yeah,
because a lot of stock Ubuntu is on snaps, like the desktop and stuff. That was a major problem, and that left a bad taste in my mouth for snaps.
The thing about that, though, if I could interject real quick, is that the Canonical Snap Store in and of itself is proprietary.
Yeah.
So there's the web services team within Canonical that works on Launchpad, the Snap Store, a bunch of different web services that Canonical has host infrastructure for. So it's not like it's some obscure team hidden within Canonical, but the point being, it's a proprietary store. They have a reference implementation there, but it's bare bones compared to what is actually implemented.
Well, I think snaps are an excellent alternative to PPAs, but I don't quite think they're ready to be made into system components.
I would agree to you. I would agree with that. Some things, though, I would still agree PPAs have their place. Definitely, as an Ubuntu developer, PPAs are essential for all Ubuntu development. Everybody uses them, to test packages before they go into the archive. But for general consumption of packages, unless you have a maintainer of those packages that really cares about updating them and really knows a lot about the packaging, some of these packages, people are throwing them out and they don't know what they're doing. And, with snaps, you might see a similar situation. You might see people who, some people that don't know what they're doing, and they may not get confinement right. They may not get something right, and,
Well, the benefit there is if somebody releases a bad snap, it doesn't affect the other packages on the system, so that there is some benefit to that. Where
but the downside is
everybody has downloaded a bad PPA and had libraries get broken, and everybody's gone through that at least once. So
I would agree, but with snaps, there's no way to readily see the source code of the snap either. So, while confinement is a thing, if somebody finds a way to escape that confinement, which is relatively easy given that you can, I forget the exact terminology, but there are ways you can expose snaps to the general system. You still kind of have to be careful with what snaps you're installing, because you have snaps that could have access to your home directory or whatever else.
Well,
and if you don't trust the snap you're installing,
if you install a snap using the classic flag, I don't believe it's confined at all. Like
right,
the way
you can also poke holes in it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it.
So while they do encourage full confinement, there are still holes that you can poke in it, and which can still leave your system vulnerable. I'm not there. I thought there was one incident of what? Say again?
Go ahead.
All right. I could see where snaps would have a benefit on like a Manjaro system, when you're using cutting edge libraries and shared objects, and you want to run a specific piece of software, okay, and you no longer have the necessary libraries available to you to run that package. Snaps is a wonderful thing to have so that you're not potentially breaking your system, you know, because of a potential dependency nightmare. So snaps are really good for that, and flat packs are as well too. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. The way snaps are structured, it seems to me like one of the best use cases for them would be in a server environment, because the automatic updating, the automatic rollbacks of failed updates, and the confinement, they seem like a very good replacement to virtual containers on a server environment.
I would agree.
But as a regular desktop user, I'm not really sure where they fit.
They are virtual containers.
Well, I think
they're not done in the same way. The virtual containers that servers use, you're basically running an entire VM on the back end, and snaps don't have all that overhead.
Depends. So. If you're running a KVM, then no. If you're running a LXD, then yes. But a snap works more like a KVM when it comes to the certain packaging, because you still have to pull in the components. You still have to have the pieces. So in reality, you still are kind of running a virtual environment, but it's not. I would say it's closer to like a flat Docker than that. And of course that goes back to Flatpak is sort of the same concept. It's the same kind of thing. So yeah, I guess in a way, but not the same.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's almost like snap packages are still trying to find their place, because I believe they were originally developed to be deployed like with the mobile device stuff, like the thing Canonical was doing with the phones and stuff. Yeah. And then they started to push it towards OpenStack development and servers, and now that they're on the desktop with it, it's almost like it's still trying to find its home, and it hasn't quite got there yet, you know. So I don't know. I think it's still young in the home user space. It's still trying to find its place.
Mm-hmm. But I think Spatry made a good point there, because a number of times, and I use Linux very limitedly in what I need to work, but there have been a couple of times where components of the main operating system have updated and consequently broken a package that I had installed, because they relied upon a previous version of something within the total OS. And I'm not clever enough to work out how to roll back that component without breaking the rest of the environment. But if I had that application as a snap, it wouldn't have been affected by what happened to the rest of the OS, and I would have still been enjoying some of its features. So I think that was a very good remark.
Yeah, I guess something something that you have to consider as well is, if you have one of those systems where you're just worried about one library that you're using, multiple applications are using the same library, and if one of the applications needs a newer version, or there's not correct compatibility there, the trade-off there is, if everything else is working correctly, so if you have 5 different applications depending on that one library, instead you're going to have 5 different copies of that library instead of just one copy that you have to deal with dependency management with one of the different parts of it. So while I do see your point, while I do see the use of it, I just think in general that there's the trade-off of course, now you're going to have 5 different copies of it.
Right.
So,
I use Snap in the same way that he was saying about a system that gets updated. I'm on the opposite side of it. Using Debian stable, I'm using snaps, and instead of adding backports or different sources to Debian to sacrifice its stability, because Debian's really stable. Like if I want to install Spotify or Discord or something, instead of going out and grabbing a new source or a deb file for it, I just run a snap, and it doesn't affect the rest of the system like it might otherwise. So there is an argument to be made.
I have a question about that though. Did they ever do away with the loop devices that stick around?
Nope, that's still a thing.
They still use them. You see them every single time. When you run ls block.
I don't see them in Disk Manager anymore, but they're still there in the background.
It really rubs me the wrong way that their solution to that is instead of actually fixing the problem, they decide that, oh, we're just going to package everything so that it doesn't look at all the loop devices used by snaps.
Yeah.
So
that's a Microsoft way of doing it.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like, but the whole snap thing, I think that on rolling distributions, I really don't see the points of snaps in the same sense I do as a Debian stable system where you can just put snaps right on top of it. Like, I personally don't see a space where if you have correct package management on your rolling system, which if you're using a rolling system, unless you're using a distribution which tries to make it easy, if you're using Arch, you should probably know how to do dependency management. Like you've gotten to the point where you've installed your system via command line. You should probably know what package does what, sort of. I just think in general snaps are more for the, they're developed by Canonical. Canonical also develops Ubuntu, which has stable releases. They have LTS releases. I think it's a perfect fit for that, just not for Arch or for rolling distributions.
Right. But that's an assumption. But the deal is with that, that's an assumption. That's an assumption that's being made because whether a person does understand how the subsystem works or how things and features are working, there may be applications that aren't available that you can actually pull in, or there might be complications and it might be easier to use something like a Flatpak or an app image or a snap, depending on what they need to be able to do, because there may be an application that just works better in that form or fashion, or there might be it may not be supported even in the rolling release in the same way, or there might be a specific their rolling release may decide to do something that doesn't coincide with the way that package is managed on other distributions. There have been situations where there are dependencies that a distribution doesn't use, and they've gotten rid of it. In in Arch's case, or in Slack's case, or in Gentu's case, that might be more efficient. Once you've got your system built, maybe you just want to be able to slide packages in that you are specifically wanting without having to go through an extra process.
Right.
Well, one argument.
So, I mean, and generally, with just the way it works conceptually, you have a point though. So I'll give you that.
Well, one strong argument for snaps on a rolling release is with snaps you can have multiple versions of the same application. So if you're developing something, you can have different versions and you can test things a little bit better that way.
I thought you could only have one revision active at a time.
You could, but you could have
multiple different snaps for multiple different versions.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to have one initialized at a time. But if you were like trying to develop something, you could have different versions installed. You can launch them. There's some workaround to that, but it is doable.
But I mean, if you're talking about a consistent system with binaries and you have an end application, like you could probably get the same sort of effect from just grabbing the binary from where it was built. In systems like Gentoo, I could totally see that though. So,
yeah,
Rocco, let me ask you a question about that, because not that long ago you were trying to do Solus, which is obviously rolling.
Yep.
You installed a certain application that broke the system, which was what? Lightworks.
Excuse me, and it wasn't me who mentioned it this time.
No. But it plays.
Zeb, it doesn't. Every week it gets mentioned by somebody.
But it plays into this conversation. That's why I only bring it up. Solus is a rolling. I was gonna say Solus is a rolling system. The package that Lightworks at the time required was not maintained according to Solus. Now, if there was a snap or an app image or a Flatpak, whatever,
right,
this would not have been a problem, and you probably might still be on Solus.
I might be. So what happened was I tried to install Lightworks, and I went and had to manually edit some files in the root partition, and I don't know if I did it wrong or if it just completely broke the system beyond repair. So Matt's point is, if there was a snap, if they had put up a snap or even an app image, I wouldn't have had to do that.
I also broke Solus trying to install Broadcom drivers. So,
but that's my point, and that's kind of the niche in the area that I think snaps, specifically speaking, fit in, because especially on a rolling distro. Now you can talk about Solus having limited repos and all this other stuff, but if you go to Arch, you're going to have the same issue if you install stuff from the AUR and if that's not maintained. So then you go to update and you update everything in your Manjaro or Arch or whatever flavor, and you end up breaking the system because some dependency wasn't updated from the AUR app that you install.
Well, I think the main thing that concerns me
that there was a regression in KDN Live, and it just would not run at all on Manjaro unless I installed it from a flat pack. It was the only way I could get it working.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta, they have their place,
yeah.
Because sometimes, it beats having to wait for a fix to be sent downstream. If you need to have that application running and you need it now, sometimes having the flat pack can be a nice convenience for you.
Well, the fact that we even have those options today, though. Well, think about it. Like, if we go back 5 years, we didn't even have these options. We didn't have this ability to say, okay, well, I'm going to run this system. Oh, that application isn't available. They don't make a deb for it. They don't make an RPM for it. I got to build it myself. Oh, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
The deal is now we're complaining because we have 3 different options now that we can use. They're not perfect, but we have 3 different options now to where we can say, hey, I got this package. I'm running Arch. Okay, I'll just grab the flat pack, or I'll grab the snap, or I'll grab the app image. How is that a problem? That's amazing. That's awesome.
Personally, I think that
part of that might be introducing more fragmentation into the ecosystem, though. That's something that does concern me about having all these choices, because if developers, one developer might find snaps to be the better choice for them. One might consider these other.
But how is that fragmentation?
I was going to say
if all the platforms support those snaps, and they support flat packs or app image or whatever choice, how is that a problem? If you're running Arch and you want to run a snap or you want to run a flat pack, you can install both. You run Debian or Ubuntu.
But let's say that a developer deploys an application specifically for Debian or for Arch. The libraries from the traditional package managers may or may not be more optimized for that targeted distro, as opposed to pulling some generic package down from a snap packages.
Then the developers should put out a deb, an RPM, whatever they're going to put out in their package format that they prefer.
So that's the
where
the point behind the flat packs and the snaps is that they have the base environment.
Right.
You're not using the Debian. If I run a flat pack on Debian, I'm not using the Debian stuff. In fact, I just went through some of this stuff with the flat pack guys this week. They assume they still use like a Ubuntu type setup, even in a Debian. If you pull the Debian stuff, I don't know what it is exactly on Flatpak, but on them on snaps, it's almost always Ubuntu. So
Dolphin in the house.
And hey guys,
and MX in the house.
I'm not too loud, am I?
No.
Okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
I had to play with the audio settings a little bit.
I was excited. I liked that.
Thomas, you were trying to say something earlier.
I was going to say that personally, I feel like snaps and flat packs are technology in their infancy. They're an answer waiting for a problem. I could see them being a great solution on a security-oriented distribution. For instance, Parrot OS. But like Simon mentioned earlier, you can poke holes in that security. But once the technology matures more, I could see this being a great replacement. For instance, if you're wanting the utmost security, one thing that you can do is run a specific application in a virtual machine. There is actually a operating system that does this. It's Linux-based, and every time you launch a new application, it runs it in a virtual machine. But this takes a... Shut up, Mycroft. Anyway. which is the weirdest thing. Anyway, so the problem with this is, of course, it takes up a lot of resources. Anyone who runs virtual machines for any length of time take up a lot of resources. Maps, while they take a little while to load, don't take as much resources as a full virtual machine does. So if the technology were to mature more and become more secure, then in the future, this would be a great answer if you are super, super security conscious. But like I said, this is a technology in its infancy, and we need to see where this goes before we decide, oh, this is meant for security, or no, this is more meant for cross-platform ubiquity.
Well, Matt, you had touched on fragmentation, and System, you said that it's not, and it's kind of the age-old argument of even the fact of all the choice of the distros that we have. We have so many choices. That's a lot of fragmentation of development work, where if everybody was working on one thing, it would be, we could have this great Linux operating system.
But the advantage of those components means that we can take advantage of the fragmentation. So having Flatpak, having Snap, having those options to be able to run on multiple distributions and not be limited to a singular identity or a singular a single vision of how things are supposed to be done. That gives you the ability of, okay, I have choice. I like this app. I want to run it. I want to be able to use it here. I want to be able to use it there. But maybe I want to distro hop on a regular basis, and I want the same consistent apps from machine to machine to machine.
Yep.
There's options. There's ability.
I think it's the single best thing about open source and Linux, and the single worst thing about open source and Linux is the fragmentation versus choice.
That's what I was going to say. The open source nature of the software is a double-edged sword. It definitely is. Linux is good because it's open source, and it's also bad because it's open source. It's a double-edged sword.
Yep.
So because of this, we can also influence the market as a whole. If we've seen, for instance, in the past, Windows, there were certain things that you couldn't do. For instance, multiple desktops. And now the multiple desktop feature that started in Linux is now in a beta release of Windows because of how much influence we have.
It's multiple desktops have been in Windows for a long time now.
Yeah.
Might not have been baked into the main OS itself, but there's always been someone who's written something.
Stardock.
It's not just in a beta release. It's been there for at least a year and a half now.
Yeah, I think Windows 10, when it first released, it had multi-desktop support.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that was something weird that I saw was coming in a new beta release of Windows.
They're redefining it because they're actually making their desktops independent. Like, so each one of the desktops can have its own configuration. Kind of like I think Plasma does that, where you can have different configurations within each one of your workspaces.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's a reason they call it.
you can have each workspace.
What software was it called? It was called Desktop Cubes or something from Windows that was capable of that, but it ate up a lot of system resources.
Like everything.
Yeah, that was by a company called Stardock.
Yeah.
They did like Windows blinds and all that stuff.
So we're gonna move on to the next person.
Yeah, I was going to say, we kind of veered off into the Snap conversation. So let's go back to the 1810s. After we talk about the 1810s, we can get into whatever we want to get into. But Ali, what did you try this week?
Okay, well, I actually tried the LXQ builder, the beta of the 1510, and I broke the installer. And what it is on the Calamaris is when it's installing, if you don't have a network connection, you see, I have a strange network connection. I don't know if it's the same in the United States as it is in England, but if you go to somewhere like Starbucks and you connect to their Wi-Fi, you go to a landing page to log in, and then you can get your internet connection. Well, that's the kind of system I have here where I live until Tuesday when I got my own internet. So when I did install, I didn't have an internet connection as such, but I had a network up. So it got to where it was trying to update or download repos. And the next thing I know, I've got a lot of Python, just crashed. I realised what had happened and I restarted it after I connected to the network properly, and then it installed fine. After that, I had no problems with it. I even made a video on it. I didn't have any issues at all with it, to be honest. It's rather quite neat.
I'm just trying to see what caused by, because if it has an internet connection, it tries to find the nearest Ubuntu mirror that it can use.
That's right, yeah.
Right. So
that's,
if it tries,
that's where it broke.
Okay, that's where it broke. So you're saying it had a network connection, but it couldn't.
It's got a network connection, but not an internet connection. And because it couldn't contact the server, it threw a wobbly at me.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
I had to log into the network before I was allowed internet connection, if you see what I mean.
Some air handling for that is landing shortly, so that should improve. But I know exactly what you're talking about. So
yeah. That's the only problem I had with the installer.
Cool.
I did it twice, installed it twice, because on my Dell laptop I can run either as legacy mode or UEFI straight from the boot menu without going in. So yeah, it installed on both, no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
So yeah, that was fine. I was quite pleased about that. Not every distro does that, by the way. There are some that can run on legacy and others that chew up my UEFI for whatever reason. Along the Ubuntu line, in fact. So I was quite impressed that
sign-in keys
that for me. Sorry?
They have to have the proper sign-in tokens to get that to work, and not all distros deploy that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So anyway, yeah, apart from that, I had no trouble. I find that LXQT isn't as feature-rich as LXDE was in some of the settings. I found it a bit spartan, but that could be just me.
Okay. Like
you know what I mean? But that isn't I realised it's the beta, you see, so I let it all pass. You know? But I did enjoy it. It was snappy. It is quite quick. So much as quick as mine, I'm just saying. No, seriously, it was quite quick. I was quite impressed with
Not
it.
as quick as PC Linux.
It isn't, no system even machine is, to be honest.
So could you give me some specifics over Telegram or something of what exactly you thought was missing from there? Because this is sort of the downside of people trying out the beta, is that they you know, by no malicious intention, they say, oh yeah, I see that there's that beta. Yeah, it has a couple things not working right, but they'll solve it.
No, yeah. No, I appreciate that, Simon, I really do. It wasn't that it was missing like off the top of my head that I can't think of. It's just that it didn't look. When you go into LXD settings, you seem to have a load of settings, if you see what I mean, because it's based on GTK. You have all the GTK settings and so on. And I didn't see that. Being as the QT is rather new, LXQT is new as a desktop itself, it isn't as feature complete. It's a bit like when KDE moved from 3 to 4. 4 was a dog at first because it was just missing a lot of stuff. It didn't have a lot of features that KDE 3 had. You see what I mean? So it's just got to mature that much more. And then, like, another thing I did notice, when you're using Qt now, you can use the KDE apps without putting a load of Qt dependencies because it's using the same libraries. So you could have K3B and Kwrite and that stuff I noticed in the menus. And I thought that was rather cool. I did like that.
Because I guess the thing that sort of confuses me is I've heard from people that, and I've sort of seen myself, that LXD and LXQt seem to be pretty feature compatible. So I'm just curious from a standpoint of, you know, what exactly is missing, if there's something I can take a look at. Because I definitely want to improve that if possible. If there's something that LXDE had, like I know there were some like panel plugins and some little
tiny... that kind of idea. Yeah, it was literally that kind of idea. It was nothing massive or you know, no showstoppers. I would honestly have to get LXD on one VM and LXQt on the other, and just go through them to see what was missing and just tell you what's different. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I could do that.
Awesome. Spatry, you're up, brother.
Okay. I looked at now. I don't know if the daily build of KDE Dion is an 18 or not, but I looked at their latest daily build, and I looked at Ubuntu, and I've got to say I was actually impressed with this design and look and feel. I mean, yes, they have the consistent colors and that sort of thing. this screen resembles something that we see in Windows. I didn't really care for that, but you know, you can easily remove this if you don't want it. One thing I'm noticing with the newer flavors of Ubuntu is when you're running a usability experiment in VirtualBox or on VMware, this fills the screen, so you don't have to build any, you know, guest editions in order to get this to fit right. I know a number of people, when they're using Open Simulator Server, they'll run copies of Ubuntu in a virtual machine for setting up their the different components of their server, such as their asset server, and then they'll set up, then they'll have another virtual machine setting up other services, such as running individual simulators and that sort of thing. So that's always a good thing. It looks nice. The last time I looked at Ubuntu, and it's been a few years, it had Unity. I like what they did with GNOME Shell. It's, you know, and I think a lot of this has to do with what the GNOME team has been doing as well. You know, there's been a lot of polish that's been added to this. So if I want a piece of software, I can, you know, just type in a part of a word. It'll find that and give me some suggestions and that sort of thing. So this is going to make things very nice for people who are transitioning over from other operating systems to Linux. Now, I didn't mean to offend when I used the term training wheels distribution. Obviously, there are people that use Ubuntu for their own ends. But for me personally, when I moved over to Arch Linux, I felt I kind of outgrew Ubuntu. But that is just me personally, and you know, not a reflection on the OS as a whole. Ubuntu brings a lot to the table, as Matthew said. They've got a lot of driver support. I always had a problem, though, with getting Broadcom working on the Ubuntu systems, where Manjaro had the driver, and I didn't have. I can remember spending hours trying to get a Broadcom interface working, even trying with the Indus wrapper and having issues with it. But that was an older version. I haven't tried that same thing using a newer version. I'm not sure what else to say. Pretty much, I've got a video on a cup of Linux I did this week where I did the basic run-through of the distribution. As stated, this looks good.
Right.
And if you don't like the theme, you don't like the colors, I can't say I'm all that thrilled about it, but there is a level of consistency with this. And that's something that the Ubuntu team chooses to stick with. And so I expect their next release to have that same era of familiarity. So,
well, about the theme, I mean, about the theme, Ubuntu has never been my, like, I've never enjoyed a stock Ubuntu theme as far as their color scheme and everything. I've always changed it. So that to me is not a big deal at all. If I'm going to run Ubuntu, I'm going to change it anyway. So, all right, cool. Michael,
hello.
What's happening, brother?
Yeah, not much. My first time on the show here, so.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. So you're going to have to excuse the language. English is not my native language, so.
It's quite all right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I've been running Lubuntu 8 and 10.
Nice.
Been having some contact with Simon in the dev Telegram group also, and I've been running it since the daily 3rd of October. I think you released that ISO, and for me I have no problems. Everything works. I do my gaming and do my video editing and photo editing. Everything works. The only thing was a couple of cosmetics in the GUI. So nothing functionally. Everything works perfect. So yeah, I'm happy with it, and I'm sticking with it. It's on my main rig, and it's my daily driver. So yeah, I have no complaints here so far. And if things does not go sideways, I will be sticking to Lubuntu.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see. Maybe I.
Well, what were you running? What were you running before that?
Solus.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I was on Solus Mate. So, and I tried out the GNOME version too. So yeah. So I decided to hop on Tesla Ubuntu. I've been curious about it for a while now. So I want to try out now when they changed to Qt from the other GTK. And we'll see. Maybe I join in and help with the testing the last couple of days here before the release.
Anything they can, any help they can get is going to benefit them. So if you got the time, it's a great way to contribute. You know, even not, you know, a lot of times people will say contribute and they think money, but testing is just as important.
Yeah, especially now, the last weeks before release. So, yeah, I'm very happy with it. No major stuff. All the important stuff works for me. So I'm here to stay, so to speak.
Good.
Yep.
Well, hopefully you will make it a regular stay to come here as well.
Yeah. I've been watching the show for quite a while. And I need to get my camera sorted. So I will be joining.
Good.
Joining the team next time, maybe. We'll see.
So before you move on, Rocco, I just want to make a quick prediction that the next person won't be sticking on anything.
I don't know where you got that from, Zeb. Where did he get that from, Colin?
Where did I get what from?
Where did PZ get that from?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you don't know. Huh? All right. What did you try?
Well, I want to report first that no more enjoying your desktop. All right, I made it till Thursday, but I was flying over to Melbourne, so I had to do a few things. I enjoyed it till Thursday. That was it. I failed. All right. Okay.
You failed the enjoy your distro challenge.
So I've only been back for a day or so. So I've gone berserk yesterday installing a few 1810s. So I'm running currently Ubuntu stock. I don't actually mind their theme. I think it's not too bad. It's better than looking at the same one that they've had for the last 10 years or whatever it is. So it's good to see a change anyway. But I'll probably will change it. I'm also running Lubuntu. Now, Lubuntu is the default login, right? Not the LXQT desktop, right?
Right. Should be. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm happy to report, Simon, that your login screen is been fixed because there was a few things off the screen. That's all been fixed. Yeah.
That was actually Wendy who did that. So.
Oh, was it really? Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Wendy done.
Okay, now I know Wendy's doing some wallpapers for you, so you really need to get fixed some beautiful looking wallpaper selection because it's still not there, right? So I mean,
I thought the wallpaper this cycle was actually pretty good, but
there's no selection. It just goes to your it just goes to your home folders, right?
We have a task open for that. That's going to be early next cycle. We're going to get that done.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it again.
Yeah, and just to quickly jump in there, when I was testing it before, have you yet fixed the way it wrecks the wallpaper over two screens?
So we have a workaround now. We have a script that you can use, but
is that the one that Hank? Is it Hank or something created it?
I think Hans.
Hans.
Yeah.
I tested that and it works perfectly on 3 monitors. So if you're gonna offer that, then you've solved it sort of.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So for right now, that's our workaround. But I think at this point, looking at the time and looking at the calendar, it's going to be 1904 thing or something we release after the release. I just knocked that over. That's fun.
We will knock something over.
Nothing like live TV.
Trying to make up for Chicken's absence.
Yeah, where is Chicken at?
He's probably in the hospital.
The last time anybody seen him was when he disappeared from eating one of them peppers.
I tell you, I think y'all got him the last time. I don't know.
I remember that.
He hasn't been on Telegram. He hasn't been like
No,
anywhere.
it hasn't. Not since then.
He's been posting videos though, so you have to wonder.
He's probably has no vocal cords left. I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's nothing left on the
But he
inside.
could still type. He could still.
Well, that's
Yes.
fair. You don't need vocal cords.
Yeah, you don't need vocal cords.
All right, Colin, you got anything else for 1810?
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't know, it's been a running thing for me with Ubuntu. When you hit the menu and all your applications come up in Ubuntu, one annoyance for me is the names do not complete in some of the applications. Now, there is an extension for that, but I would have thought that somehow that they could complete the names in the applications themselves. That to me is a real annoyance. There's no tooltip as well. So I would have thought those little things would have been a standard thing, but obviously not. So, yeah, and I did Ubuntu Budgie as well. I've installed that. Looks like they haven't got their, it's only beta, but obviously their welcome screen is not fully complete, I've noticed, but it's the only thing. So that's me done, pretty much.
All right.
So he's been back one day and he's done 3 that I couldn't do. So now you wonder why he's not going to stick.
All right, before we go on, Carl Schneider in the house.
Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Hello, Carl.
Awesome.
Good.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Well, my 13-year-old tank got a good dose of the 32-bit Lubuntu, and the only real issue it had was the Broadcom Wi-Fi didn't set up out of the box, but the B43 FW Cutter drivers went in, set it up fine. It's been running nice. It was running so well that I decided to try something on my main rig, and I put Ubuntu Budgie. Like Colin said, the welcome, Budgie welcome. I went to run that, and it crashed X11. And yes, I did file a bug report, and it's even being followed up. But the other thing I noticed, I actually got NVIDIA drivers in and set up and running, but a couple of times it would crash out of X11. But Budgie was actually very good at recovering from X11 crashes. It would crash, but then about 15, 20 seconds later, it would just reset itself and bring me back to the login screen. So it took very good care of me that way. The one real issue I had with it was on my desktop, the Wi-Fi is blocked with RF kill, and even if I try and unblock it, as soon as I reboot, it's blocked again. I can't get Wi-Fi running in Ubuntu Budgie on my desktop. And for Zeb, I agree the high DPI, only at 100%, 200%, 300%. 100% is kind of small, 200% is too big. So,
yeah.
But other than those little niggles, they've both, I think actually Lubuntu is a little further ahead in being ready than Ubuntu Budgie. But I think they're both doing well.
Well, Dave, we're going to have to get you in contact with Dustin, because he'll probably want to hear about those Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah, I was just thinking if there's something like rc.local in the ETC, you can put the RF kill command in there, so when it boots, it will read that script last, and then you'll get your Wi-Fi back.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I do the RF kill unblock all, and it would show that it's no longer blocked, but I still wouldn't be able to do the IP set the adapter up, and it still wouldn't come online.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, so it shows up. It's all listed. All the drivers are there. The modules are there. It's probably just another ghost in my machine. So, since the NVIDIA drivers went in, something else had to break.
on your scaling, I learned when I had my 34-inch widescreen here as well. There's a wonderful XR and R command called -- scale.
Okay.
And if you set that to 1, then you're going to get normal settings, yeah? But if you want your high DPI screens to show a better display, sort of go to 0.95 or 0.9 or 0.85 or 0.8, and you can actually then set the scaling you want. And I found a sweet spot of 0.8 on my 27-inch 4K monitors. So yeah, try the XR and R. You have to tell it which screen to output to, but then it's -- scale. And what you do is 0.8 times 0.8.
That's 0.8 for us in the US.
Yeah, 0.8. Sorry.
I speak I speak actual English, not just American.
And what was really funny was
we understand.
I was able to go the other way on my 3440 monitor and tell it to do a scaling of 1.5, and all of a sudden I've now got 3 4K monitors in front of me. It's fantastic.
XR and R -- scale. And
No,
then
first of
0.8
all,
by
you have to have the
-.
-- output and the name of your monitor, which you can get by just typing XR and R.
Right.
And then you go -- scale space 0.8 times 0.8. Go on, Thomas.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Jansu, did you try any of the 1810s?
Not yet. I've been playing with the server side of things. I've been setting up my own next cloud, so that's been taking my time.
Okay. Well, that's awesome in itself.
Yeah, it's fun. Not easy for me, but fun.
It's a learning experience.
It definitely is.
All right, Thomas.
All right, so I tried Ubuntu, and coming from a daily GNOME user, this has been really weird for me.
Shock. A shock.
Big shock. Same functionality at last.
I mean, wow. So I use Ubuntu as a daily driver anyway, so it wasn't that big of a difference under the hood. I was still able to do my normal terminal stuff, not a big deal. I did like the way it looked. The default icon theme wasn't too bad. The GTK theme wasn't really my style, so I think I changed that. I liked how easy it was to configure and how many configuration options it gives you right out of the box. That was something that having to deal with GNOME every day, a fresh install of GNOME, I always had to install GNOME tweaks. So
9,000 extensions.
Not 9,000, more like 5. But I get your point. And out of the box, it was about as fast as how I have my GNOME set up, because all the stuff I do to GNOME to make it faster. Discovery or whatever the stupid app store is trash. But I do like how in that app store it is very easy for me to just click and enable a repository, whereas otherwise I would have to go and do sudo apt edit sources and go in and take out all those hashtags down that file just to enable all those repositories. There I can just click a checkbox and I'm done. Other than that, not bad, not my cup of tea, but definitely if I needed to use it for an extended period of time, I would be able to use it. And I wouldn't have very many complaints at all, other than it looks way too much like Windows for my taste.
All right, so you're a GNOME user. And
Yes.
you try KDE.
Yes.
Give me a one-line first impression of KDE.
Let's see, one line.
You gave me like a
I mean, better.
Icky.
Overwhelming, something, anything.
Leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Heaven.
Sugar.
You know.
This is going to go from one line to two.
Perfect.
But no, not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But I would say it has a use case, and for that use case, it would be amazing. But for my use case, it is not. So, yeah.
All right. So
I like it, but I don't like it as much as I like GNOME.
I
Does
suggest
anybody
that
else
you
have
use it.
problems with KDE with NVIDIA on GNOME and other GNOME-based desktops. Everything works smooth for me. I boot up KDE and I get weird pixels and screen tearing pretty badly.
So I have an NVIDIA graphics card, but because my motherboard's BIOS is so weird, I cannot reinstall my OS on bare metal without doing janky stuff. So I have to run all of our distro challenges in a virtual machine. Otherwise, I risk bricking my system.
KDE is cranky for me on my NVIDIA card until I get the NVIDIA proprietary drivers in. Then it smooths out.
That actually makes it worse on my system.
Wow. Have you gone into the settings?
Well, Matt, you have an older card. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I would say I'm running a GTX 1080 Ti, and I have messed around with drivers for the last, I don't know, a year or so since I bought that card, and I have never had a single problem with KDE and NVIDIA. Never, ever, not once. So I really don't get where you get all those problems. It works perfect, and I'm trying it with. I got 3 desktops here with 3 different kinds of NVIDIA cards, different manufacturers, trying different versions of the drivers with different distros. Never.
How old are
failed
those
once.
cards?
You have the one here, which is a GTX 1080 Ti. Then I have one 760, it's a little older, and one 1060.
Well, all of those are significantly newer than the card that I have, so that might be the answer.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. But for me, anything older than 4 years old is Stone Age. So,
well, I'm not able to install the newer drivers. The newest driver I can even install successfully is the 840 driver. So.
Okay. Yeah, I have never had any problem whatsoever with KDE or NVIDIA. None.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't.
It might be the age of the graphics card.
Yeah, could be. Absolutely.
The drivers just aren't that optimized for the older card.
Surely.
Maybe I got a 8400 GS GeForce card. It's it's
really
kind
old.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Yeah, but I hear a lot of other people having problems with the screen tearing and whatnot. So I really. To me, it's odd. I find it very weird.
Well, I think it has to do with the monitor that you use. Also, I know some modern monitors have like G-Sync and stuff built into the monitor.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't, communicate properly through Linux or something like that. I don't know.
But G-Sync is not supported in Linux. FreeSync is somewhat supported, but G-Sync is not supported.
Well, my monitor is a 24 inches, a 16:10 aspect ratio. I tend to have better performance on the 16:9 screen on my laptop than I do on the 16:10. Okay. I don't know if that less common aspect ratio might be doing something weird with the drivers. I don't know.
Might be. I don't know. But yeah, it works perfect here.
Yeah. Sorry, Rocco. What was that control that you told me to use in the NVIDIA settings on the OpenGL? Something about flipping?
Yeah, to uncheck the allow flipping. Because by default it's checked, and that's one of the things that I've always done to stop screen tearing in KDE.
Well, I can solve the screen tearing problem by going into the xorg.conf file and adding the line for forced composition pipelining. The problem is my card is so low end that when I do that, it takes so much performance off the card, it's just not usable.
Right.
So I can solve screen tearing by doing that, but it sacrifices so much performance that it's not worth doing.
And what card do you have?
It's an 8400 GS. It's kind of in the neighborhood of a GT 210. It's a low end card, but it's quite old.
What KD version are you running?
The ones that I've tried it on are. It seems like every version since 5.0 forward has had this issue. So, but I don't have the same problems in the GNOME desktop. I don't have any screen tearing there at all. So it's a little strange.
No, I'm just a little. I was just thinking because the 5.10 and onward, at least for me, from KDE, when I'm throwing it on really old hardware, seems to recognize the hardware really well and cycle back on effects until it reaches a point where it smooths out.
Well, there's a lot of variables, refresh rates of the screen, and there's all kinds of variables involved. So who knows?
All
right. Climby. Wait. Before we start, you tried every one of them, didn't you?
Everyone except for Studio and Kylan. Yeah.
Why not Kylan?
Nobody has tried Kylan. Nobody I know has tried Kylan. But don't make any comments on Ubuntu. Leave that to me.
All right. So, what was the best one out of all the ones you tried?
That's really tough. I've really enjoyed Ubuntu Budgie, and like all the issues that I've heard about the welcome screen, all that stuff. I haven't had any issues with their welcome screen. Everything's just worked. Haven't had it crash once. Definitely. Man, maybe this is because last week I ran Vanilla GNOME, but Ubuntu Budgie is just so much better.
I'll say going from Ubuntu GNOME to Budgie's like heaven, dude.
But yeah, so Ubuntu Budgie was what I ran on my main machine. But so pretty much every computer in this house is running some variant of 1810 beta now. Even some non-computers like this Nintendo Switch here, which is running Ubuntu 1810, which you can actually move this.
I think you might need an intervention.
Wow. You got the Nintendo Switch running Ubuntu.
Yeah. And pretty much everything works except for sound, but that's because even at the hardware level, that's not supported yet under Linux. But no, it's working great on that. So that's what I had on. I just did that on the Switch. And then on this netbook, I did the Lubuntu 1810. Which I was talking to Simon about. This is one of those weird 32-bit UEFI machines.
Sounds already like I don't like those.
Yeah, Dolphin knows all about those as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Intervention, Distro Hoppers Anonymous.
I'm a co-founder of that,
Hi, Rocco.
Hi, Dave.
So
I didn't have that problem, but we'll go from there.
Because of the 32-bit UEFI, the Calamares installer will actually crash, like right when it's installing the bootloader, because it's saying, "Hey, you're on a 64-bit machine. We expect you to be normal and have normal UEFI," but no. So, but it's really an easy fix. All you have to
the classic mistake when figuring your UEFI situations. But I will reserve comment until after you're done. Sorry. You were just so happy, I had to jump in.
With Ubiquity, they have all this figured out. When you have to do your own installer again, you have to sort of do all this again. So we actually had to special case the UEFI stuff in there, because if you look at another distribution that does UEFI stuff, there was that Xtix or whatever. They didn't have it figured out, but it's something that you have to implement yourself as a distributor, because of course you have the assigned UEFI, whatever else is going on. And I'm just trying to find a way to wrap my head around the whole fact that there's a 64-bit system. How do you programmatically detect that it's a 32-bit BIOS, or not a 32-bit BIOS, 32-bit EFI system?
You ask the EFI what it is. It will tell you.
Is there a command line utility I can use for that?
Yes, and you should check out the Gazelle installer from MX, because it will show you how to do it. Since
Plug,
we've had
plug,
it for
plug.
like years. Hell, okay, months. Okay, weeks. You know, whatever.
Like, come on.
Simon, it's not. I'm just joshing you a little bit. It's not easy to find. It took a lot of searching to find that, and I blame Ryan completely for the only reason why I even know about it. So, there's just don't make fun of our code in the installer, and there's a little line in there for querying the EFI so that you can the kernel, the EFI, the proc stuff will tell you what it is, but the main trick that people mistake is that they search for and we did it too at first, is you search for the 64-bit operating system, CPU. You say, oh, your UEFI is going to be... No, it doesn't work. Now, what also doesn't work is a 32-bit system can't... Well, never mind. You guys don't do 32-bit. I'll leave that for later.
We actually do 32-bit.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
That's
So
what I'm running on mine.
I'm sorry. You're one of the club. So 32-bit can't address the 64-bit UEFI. That's a lost cause.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It can't. It can't read it. The system can't read the 64-bit UEFI. Just give it up.
If you don't make fun of my code, I don't make fun of your code. We're all good. Just
okay. Cool beans.
Oh well, he already spilled the beans, so I guess I'll have to deal with that when it's my turn.
Going back to the Ubiquity installer, if you're connected to the internet on this while you're installing, like when I was doing Lubuntu 18.04.1, it will actually detect that you're running the 32-bit UEFI and will download the proper grub IA32 during the installation, and all that will be set up. But even if it doesn't, the Calamares installer, if you have your partition set up correctly and you have it mounted to /boot/UEFI, it's already mounted. So all you have to do is chroot into it and then just manually install the grub IA32 and then run through all that.
That's what we do with 64-bit UEFI. I'm just wondering because if you look at the Calamares installer, the way it's laid out, Calamares is it's an installer framework, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's all just YAML based. So we have Calamares tells us whether it's a UEFI or a BIOS system. So I'm going to have to write a special shell process script that will actually do that, which is going to be fun, but you know.
Mm-hmm. And so I also tried to do an upgrade from Lubuntu 18.04.1 to the beta. This is not the recommended way to install 18.10. But I didn't run into as many problems as I expected. The upgrade went fine, and I got to a desktop, except for the LXQT panel was not installed. And there were a lot of things not installed. So I went to a terminal, and I actually did apt install Lubuntu-desktop, and that pretty much fixed all the problems. The only thing I had after that was it didn't have the correct OpenBox theme set, the Lubuntu Arc, so I had to manually go in and set that. And it also did not have the wallpaper set. It was just a blank black screen, which I changed the wallpaper. But after that, and I don't know what happened but somehow between the upgrade and the installing Lubuntu Desktop, it also pulled down KDE Plasma. So I had the full Plasma in the login screen.
Oh my! Some KDE package probably recommends some KDE thing that recommends.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I see that happening a lot more often in the Ubuntu and Debian-based distros because the way that they do their meta packages. Like remember in the old days, of Lubuntu, you would install the included games and it would want to pull out the desktop environment. that happened several years ago. Those kinds of things, like comparing it to Arch, I can like right now, if you're on XFCE, you install XFCE goodies, and you want to remove one app from that bundle on Debian and Ubuntu, it pulls out the whole bundle. If you're on Arch, you can pull out one item from the bundle and the rest remain.
Here's the difference between that. With Lubuntu,
hold on, Simon. Your mic is kind of muffled.
Probably because my computer right now sounds like a jet engine, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, I didn't know if you had something covering the mic or what.
It would be cool if your computer was actually a jet engine.
Well, it's only a jet engine. He's compiling John too, really.
I have this thing. I could probably use that. this I
Twice
I
water.
I don't.
It's all good. It just, originally you were like regular volume, but you're kind of a little muffled now. So I want people to hear you when you're talking.
So I guess I can talk more directly in the microphone if that helps. But you know.
All right, try to continue on.
What?
Try to continue on.
I gotta go like right into the mic, right? Just like right in the mic.
We can't see you then, Simon. Just try it.
It
doesn't help. Doesn't
This
change
is
it.
microphone. I can't talk.
Are you sure you're picking up that mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the volume didn't change.
It didn't go up like in volume when you put it close to you. So.
You're not using, you're not using that mic. You're definitely not using it.
Don't tell me.
Seriously? I thought you fixed Pulse Audio.
You are not using.
Didn't we ask you to fix Pulse Audio?
I was going to say, we asked you to rewrite Pulse Audio once already.
To-do list, yeah.
you have a reason to rewrite audio.
He rewrote it for everybody else and forgot to upload it to his own rig.
Oh my gosh.
But can you hear me clearer now? Is this clearer?
No.
No.
You're muffled.
I don't think you're using that mic, dude.
Yeah.
Is this any better?
That's better. That's better. So hold it up to your mouth now.
So I'm gonna talk like
There
this
you
for
go.
the rest of the night.
There you go. Perfect.
That's okay.
You got a half an hour.
Well, you see me. I got one. It's okay.
It makes my my nose light up like a Rudolph nose.
There's definitely something wrong with that microphone because it's not.
I think
Zoom turn up the gain.
It could be Pulse Audio because we all know how good Pulse Audio is. When I was first working with Manjaro, there was an issue with Pulse where the microphone input would be all choppy and squeaky, and we had to rewrite the package for that. Oh my God, I hate Pulse Audio so much.
Unless he has the volume automatic adjust set in his Zoom meeting software.
Yeah, so when he's talking louder, it's been turning down.
That's
right. Yeah.
Well, what Spatry was having similar problems, and what he did is he ran a script that automatically would set the volume to a certain level every like 10 times a second. That was his workaround.
But you got to use Pavu Control Qt, which is the Qt port for Pavu Control, which is obviously superior to the GTK3 port.
Obviously.
Can you guys even hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Dan, we can.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Your mic.
Oh yeah. By the way, your mic.
I'm sorry.
I don't even remember at this point.
Kleiny was giving his reviews.
All right, so we got to get through this because everybody, we're running out of time to get it through everybody here tonight.
All right.
Kleiny, finish. Go ahead. What else do you want to say about it?
So very quickly, so yeah, besides that, I did get the upgrade, but I did also, after that, I installed it clean and compared. And besides some of the stuff, some of the apps were still carried over from the 1804, some of the GTK apps. Besides that, it was perfectly fine. I also dual booted Ubuntu on this too to try to compare like the system resource uses between Ubuntu and Lubuntu. I noticed that when Lubuntu was based on LXDE, it used about 100 megabytes less memory on boot than LXQT Lubuntu. And that is about 100 megabytes less than what Ubuntu uses on this machine at first boot. So, but yeah, Ubuntu ran great on this as well. And I could use either one, honestly. But one thing I do love about Lubuntu 18.10 that I think more distros need to do is the inclusion of Compton for compositing out of the box.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big plus, I thought, for Lubuntu 18.10. Besides that, so I did install Ubuntu, or Xubuntu, which I won't talk much about because I know Systrom wants to, on my AMD laptop. I didn't have any problems with it. It ran great. I didn't really have much to say on it anyway. And then the other desktop I have in this home, it's a Dell Optiplex 960, one of those small form factor computers. I put Ubuntu Mate 18.10 on that. Didn't have any problems at all. That one's actually got a NVIDIA GT710 graphics card. The only problem I have with that is I have one of those weird USB Raylink cards that use a proprietary firmware that I have to. Usually what I have to do is I have to hook up Ethernet to it during installation and install the build tools that make and GCC and all that stuff. And then I have to compile those drivers from source. But once that, that's really easy, and then it just works. For all the NVIDIA issues I've been having, I've been using the 41057 driver from NVIDIA's website, and I haven't had any issues personally using those drivers. It's worked well on my 680M on my main machine, and it's worked well on the GT710 in that Dell Optiplex. And I don't have any issues with using an xorg.conf file, but I've had issues with using the Ubuntu packaged NVIDIA drivers recently on both 1804 and 1810. So, yeah, but
nice. That's
been my experience with everything. It's been a really busy and fun week.
I'm sure. I was looking at the Telegram group. Yeah, I tried this one. Yeah, I tried this one. Oh my gosh. Here we go.
Climb, you're an animal.
Far too much spare time on your hands.
Yep. System.
Okay.
Your turn.
So I installed both the 32-bit and 64-bit Ubuntu. Yes, it is super annoying with a 32-bit. Does not want to function like it's supposed to when you're dealing with a 64-bit UEFI. So I had to dig out a 32-bit machine because I was going to install it on this laptop that I have right here, which always has problems with Wi-Fi on anything, like anything I've installed except for Arch. Even Gentoo, I've had problems with it. But this laptop actually functions really well out of the box. I just literally threw the 64-bit ISO on a thumbstick, booted up the machine, installed Ubuntu. Because it's running the 418 kernel, it automatically had the Broadcom wireless drivers out of the box for once. Which is an issue on this one because the actual wireless card that's in this is insanely new. Like it's one of the newer laptops, like a really, really new laptop. So it's a really new driver, but for some reason it actually had it out of the box. Other than that, it installed well, and it only uses about 150 megs. Like completely, that's all it's using right now.
Really?
Yeah. That's it, 150 megs.
And how much you got in there?
The laptop has 8 gigs of RAM.
Wow.
And the laptop sits, it's fanless. The laptop's completely fanless. It doesn't require any of that. It has a 2-core, 4-thread CPU in it that sits about 38C. With no fans or anything. Full power management works on it. I tested
How's that work with the no fans? I mean, like you would think that would be way higher.
Well, it's a little HP laptop. I don't know. It's one of those stream laptops. So
some of the super low spec Intel processors nowadays are being so power efficient that they actually can go and not use any fans. You typically see this with the Y series processors.
Yeah, it is a Y series processor.
Yeah,
that's why.
These passive cooling, the system BIOS throttles voltages based on temperature.
Yeah, but so even under full load at 2.4 gigahertz, which is its max CPU clock, it pretty much does anything I've been able to throw at it. And it just, I don't know, Ubuntu has been able to, the fact that it had power management out of the box. That's actually the first time I've seen that. Usually you have to install extra stuff for get it to do that. Kind of 1810 had it automatically out of the box. 1804 I had to specifically install drivers, and then under Arch it would get like 4 hours of battery life. 1810 it has 12 hours of battery life. It's crazy.
12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours of battery life.
But there are several power management packages available for Linux. There's one for Arch too. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, but this was all out of I didn't have to do anything extra. That was the cool part is 1810 Ubuntu, everything that they've tailored to it. everything was out of the box. Like I had to do no changes to it at all. Like it out of the box automatically did it. 32-bit was the same way, but I had to use a different machine that was 32-bit compliant. And with that, all the same features and functions. I install all the applications that I normally would. Everything installed the same. But yeah, on this laptop, I've had a lot of issues with it. And it's actually my wife's laptop. It's not mine. But on this machine, I've had to run Arch on it just to get certain features to work. And 1810 worked out. And we're talking. And what's really interesting is if I didn't know that this was a beta version of it, I would have thought this was a release.
Wow.
Because
that's good.
That polished. I didn't even realize it wasn't like it just everything that needed to be where it needs to be, everything that functions. I haven't had any errors or any issues with it. I installed it. It worked. So the Ubuntu team, if they're watching, they did an amazing job so far of what they've done because it just works.
We got to get Sean Davis to come on here one night and talk.
If anybody from the Ubuntu team is watching, how long are you people going to keep using the same Graybird theme? For real?
Okay, well, see, here's the thing on that. If it works, why fix it?
But I'm telling you,
that's not the Linux way. The Linux way is to fix it until it breaks.
But I was able to install a beta version of an OS on a laptop that has issues, and it worked.
No, if it's not broken, fix it until it is. You know that's the Linux motto.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of Sean Davis and see if he'll come on here.
I need it to work. I need to be able to install it and work and hand it to my wife.
I don't know, but Ubuntu, it's just starting to look dated. There's nothing wrong with it. I like the distro. It's just looking a little dated.
That's one of the nice things about XFCE, though, is it's one of the most customizable desktop environments that you can have.
Yeah, it's very modular too, which makes it very stable on a rolling.
I'm actually confused. Like the Ubuntu had Numix. It didn't have Graybird out of the box.
Oh,
it did when I tested it.
See, mine has Numix. I didn't change it.
What Ubuntu did you try?
And did you preserve your home folder?
Did you check the hashes?
It honestly sounds more like he tried Draugr OS than he tried.
Well, it comes with Numix, but Graybird is selected out of the box. At least it was for me.
I don't know. It had Numix.
I was just thinking about that 32-bit problem with the UEFI. Is there no legacy mode on that laptop, on the 64-bit laptop, so you could?
No, this one does not have legacy mode at all.
Nah, these junk netbook class things, you can't change them. It's EFI only.
No, I have a Toshiba netbook somewhere. 64-bit, but
this is like the 2018 model. Like this is like this year. So like,
being an HP, it'll probably explode by next year. So
yeah, I've had an HP explode.
I've actually seen an HP blow a hole through the back of itself.
But what year was this?
This was maybe 4 years ago.
No,
the heat sink got plugged up with dust, and the CPU got really hot, and the cap blew off of it, and blew a hole right through the side of the case of this machine.
Well, actually, it was really interesting.
I was going to say, you can't blame the OEM on that one. Then you blame the owner for not cleaning up the fans.
Not really, but see, other OEMs would throttle down and shut the machine off before it actually explodes. But I generally have had that.
Samsung.
Over the years, I've been using HP products since like 2006, and I've had a problem with almost every single one of them. I have a bad track record with HP products. So
a quick tip: stop buying them.
I have. The problem is people keep giving them to me.
If they're free.
Buy a Dell. They work great with Linux, or buy a System 76 laptop.
I don't have money for System 76.
All right, System. Anything else you want to get out about 1810?
Not really anything specific that doesn't have to do with the fact that I'm really debating whether I want to actually install it on my 17-inch laptop. I have a Dell laptop that's 17-inch. The only thing I'm concerned about is it has biometrics on it, and so I may wait until it actually becomes an actual release, because it's got support and features and functions that are just working out of the box, and I may just move to that. Right now it's running 1604. I couldn't get the biometrics to work on 1804. So
that's such a bad place to be, though. Wanting to do the beta as your main thing, you know. Like, I know.
Well, and the reason for that is because I was looking through the release set, and the biometrics is automatically supported on 1810. 1804, it didn't make the cut. Like, they didn't finish whatever they were trying to fix. Didn't make it for 1804, and they're not going to release it. Like, you have to wait. So,
well, I'm lucky enough to have the opposite problem, where they didn't fully implement driverless printing on 1804, but it somehow works with my machine, and the version before and after it doesn't work. So if I want to use my printer, I'm stuck on 1804. So,
all right.
But it is Google Cloud supported, and I'm trying to figure out a way to use Google Cloud printing through Linux. I can do it in the browser, but system wide.
The brother printer it automatically detected it, no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just automatically detected it, installed the P6 drivers or whatever they're called.
It does automatically detect my printer. The problem is the driver is all wrong. When you print, it comes out looking all weird. It's not right.
So you can't change the PCL?
They're all wrong. This one supports LDP, PPD, IPP, and IPPS. Depending on which one you select, it prints differently, but they're all wrong. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I really like ones that just use PCL, because PCL is nice because it doesn't really matter. Like, you can use an Android phone, an Apple device, or whatever. And it's just supported. So anyway, I think it's Dan's turn.
Yeah, it's Dan's turn.
It is Dan's turn.
Okay, I chose Ubuntu Mate 1810.
It's about time somebody chose 1810 Mate.
Yeah, and I'm on it right now. I gave it some real hardware because I couldn't get it to work in VirtualBox. It would go through the first part of the setup to initiate it, and then I'd get a black box on the screen. And I could not come up with enough setting changes in VirtualBox to even make a difference.
That's no bug.
I even selected the EUFI option in there, and it took a different route and acted like it wanted to install, and then it'd crash again.
The muffled guy said that that's a known bug.
Yeah, that's a known bug.
It's not a bug. It's a feature.
It's a feature.
Rudolph said it was a bug.
All right, Dan, go ahead.
Okay, I decided to try it on some real hardware, so I gave it a nice, good SSD drive to roam around on. I had some problems with the actual updater in it, as far as getting the thing to get updates through the software boutique. It didn't want to actually function with that very well. I got a display bug right after that. It said system error, and it wanted to do a bug report. Now, I set the Mate up at the beginning to actually report everything back to Ubuntu, as far as, system orientation of parts and all that, and bugs that come up. So when I got the system error, it asked me if I wanted to send a bug report, so I sent one. That's the whole idea of this. I set it up so I could use it, but not put too much of my personal information into it. As far as that, I used the standard terminal to update everything, and then some of that stuff actually started to work. The software boutique loaded with software choices after that. And I took notes. I've been using this all week.
Well, I guess it was the 1710 Mate. The software boutique was one thing that kind of worked and didn't work quite often. Like, it went back and forth between working and not working. And I think that was because of the all the back end that they do with, like, installing the different pieces of software different ways. So a lot of pieces of software would be dropped, and then it would be re-added after they got it worked out. So that's like a work in progress until they freeze it.
Well, after I did the actual update through the terminal, now it works perfect. That issue's resolved somehow through a manual update.
I never use the GUI updaters.
Yeah.
If I'm on Ubuntu and it pops up, I close it and then go to the terminal and run the updates.
Yep.
I mean, that's other than the dist upgrade. That's the way you shouldn't use the dist upgrade on Ubuntu. You should use the GUI for that part, for like the full upgrade. But I also, for regular software, I totally ignore the regular GUI.
Well, being on KDE,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
is
you
definitely
avoid Discover
ignorable.
anyway.
Regardless of what it is, I ignore it.
Well, put it this
Even
way,
if it's whether it's Discover or not, and yes, especially Discover.
Did we mention Michael's in the house?
Hi.
With the Ubuntu Monte, the software updater does not work. It says all kinds of things. The main thing that it says that it has a fatal download repository info error. And I tried to change the repositories, and there's something with the keys or something like that that it wouldn't accept. And
Do the unattended updates work on Ubuntu? I know Debian has a package that can enable that.
They do.
Okay, I've never tried them on Ubuntu-based stuff.
Yeah.
If you're having a key problem, then you might need to add the GPG keys. If you dig around on Ask Ubuntu, there is a command to do this, and it works really well and it's really quick.
Does GPG auto-populate work in Ubuntu? I know I'm used to doing it in Arch. I just don't know if it works in Ubuntu.
I get this box when I want to update it. It says partial upgrade, no software update available. Then it gives you the choice whether to do a partial upgrade or just continue. And if you just continue, it won't work properly. If you do the partial update, it crashes.
I know on regular Ubuntu, I sometimes have to go into the software and update settings and switch on like the canonical partners options and stuff like that. I don't know if that might be playing a role.
You'd have to look at what packages are needing to be updated before. Like if you could provide a list in the Telegram group or something like that, then we could review it that way. But right now, it's kind of like just shots in the dark.
It almost sounds like the app database updates, but then they change it on the back end. So when it actually goes to pull the update, the deb files aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Well, other than
that happens because it pulls the like if a version number changes or something, if a file name changes, it's not necessarily the package name. If the deb is missing because it's been upgraded already, that can fail.
Well, if it works in terminal but not in the GUI, I would maybe just try clearing the package cache out of there, see if that helps. You know, I mean, it's simple.
An auto clean and an auto remove as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have an effect on it, but it didn't seem to.
No, it shouldn't, because that's
other than that issue, it works just fine. I'm a pretty green user, and I got web pages open. I got the Zoom client to work. You're hearing me on the audio, so I don't have Pulse audio issues. I was able to get that to work real easy. The Mate desktop has a lot of nice features in it. You go to the Mate tweaks function that they have in here. You can choose between 8 different ways to set up your desktop. It has traditional. It has all kinds of others. It has 8 of them to choose from.
You're talking about the interface layout switcher stuff.
Well, yeah, you can move the panel up, down. You can choose a function, and it'll have a plank on the screen. It's pretty customizable.
Yeah, I like the way that the interface switcher is really cool.
But other than that, I'm having a really good experience with it, especially for being a beta. Not too many betas work this well out of the box with one hiccup.
KD Neon works that way.
It's not currently a beta, so
I was going to say,
it was when I did it.
The fact that it works with your hardware at all.
It was a beta when I did it, okay?
Well, my hardware is all Team Red.
And wouldn't the dev issues of Neon be betas constantly?
Yeah,
moving on.
They're forever betas, so I guess.
Moving on.
Yeah. Anyway,
Ricky, you're up, brother.
Oh yeah, thank you. Well, I've been using Lubuntu here and there as of late on this laptop only. My main setup is right behind me back there in the dark, basically.
In the dark, all we can see is two glasses eyes.
I think he's doing a Bohemian Rhapsody impression.
Yeah, we got eyeballs and a mouth.
Yeah, well, basically, basically the issues I've had with Lubuntu are pretty simple issues. Main issue is I can't, for some unknown reason, set either Chromium or Vivaldi to default for some unknown reason. On other distros I can, but on this beta I just can't.
Were you if so, I remember you.
I couldn't hear you, Simon.
Pardon?
Oh. Did you report that as a bug? Because if so, I might have remembered you.
Did you report that as a bug, Ricky?
Somebody reported it as a bug.
No, I didn't. No,
Okay.
I did not. No.
Well, either way, it is a known issue. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
It's a known feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, everything is working pretty much okay. I mean, I updated the thing through the terminal, so I mean, the other issue, which was a tiny issue, is I went to reboot the computer for the first time like a few days ago. 1 minute, my main wallpaper that came with this distro, it's right up there. The minute I log in, that wallpaper is instantly gone. I go into the backgrounds folder, it is completely gone. It's like the system wiped it out. So I had to go online and get a new wallpaper and put it in the background folder.
So
I've seen that happen with some updates on some other systems, where they change the backdrops to newer ones and they disappear.
Was it a like a right? I forget what color it is, but like an open box screen. I forget what color that is. Does anybody know what color the default open box?
It's almost like a purple color, right, Simon?
Yeah.
Well, it pretty much the official Lubuntu wallpaper that came with this distro. It was like some sort of purple space-like
thingy.
wallpaper. One minute the wallpaper's there, the next I reboot, gone.
Huh.
Yeah, so you would have had a solid color, and
on the login manager, or once you logged in?
Pardon?
On the login manager, or once you have logged in?
Like on your desktop after you logged in?
Once I logged in.
Yeah.
Because when I was at the login manager, the wallpaper was still there. When I put in my password and logged into the system, gone.
Huh. That's pretty weird.
I've never seen a distro do that before, ever.
Me neither.
I was
I've
waiting
seen,
for
I've seen Raspbian. I've seen Raspbian do that once. So.
But other than that, the thing is pretty much working okay, from what I can say.
All right, we are running out of time here. I'm sure, Dolphin, you've definitely pulled down all of the 1810s and tried them out.
All like 30 of them, yeah. I ran them. I've got like 200 partitions on this laptop from 1997, and no, I didn't do any of them.
I was going to say they all started with MX.
They all started with MX. Actually, this week is Antics, so it's whatever. No, actually, I had a good week, but it had nothing to do with Ubuntu. So I'll let, if Mike's got anything to say about the Ubuntu's, I'll pass, I guess.
I always have something to say.
Oh, I know you always have something to say. I was very specific.
He might not even know what the topic's about, and he still has something to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What time is it? What time do you want to end this, Rocco?
Well, we're supposed to end it right now, but go ahead, Michael.
So I did try Lubuntu 18.10, and I think it was great. I didn't really have a lot of any issues at much at all. Not that I noticed, just like stuff that I expect from beta. But what was really cool is I compared it to an existing Arch with i3 setup, and Lubuntu with LXQt was actually running slightly smaller and with resources than the i3 setup. To be fair, I didn't do the i3 directly on Arch, and it wasn't like, it was just like the pre stuff that the distro provided was excessive. But the fact that the LXQt was only running at like 300 megs or something with the machine, so it was surprisingly, it was surprisingly resource not intensive, considering it was LXQt. So I was happy to see that.
Nice. Well, the last thing I'm going to say about 1810, I'm going to say is I tried the 32-bit on the, Michael, remember the what'd you call it? A prop?
Yeah.
On the prop laptop.
Your prop.
It's a 32-bit laptop, and what did I tell you about the issues, Simon? The installer. Oh, it couldn't. The 32-bit wasn't able to boot into the live. No, it wasn't able to boot into the install right away.
Okay, so we did solve a bit of a UX issue. Of course, I probably have to hold this up. We did solve a bit of a UX issue because in the 32-bit ISOs until recently, we had try Lubuntu and install Lubuntu on there. On the 64-bit images, that has not been a thing for months now, and it's just been start Lubuntu.
Right.
It's just been start Lubuntu. So we did fix that, but it should push you right into the desktop where you can click the icon.
Yeah, and then the other issue was the desktop icons themselves. Like when I went to click the install Ubuntu desktop icon, it asked you what you wanted to do. Did you want to execute it?
Upstream. See, the thing about that is I've heard 5-6 different people ask me about that, and I'm like, upstream LXQt they wanted to consider it a security vulnerability that we didn't have that, because apparently people double clicking icons on the desktop, it just was weird to me a little bit, but we do plan on reverting that by the release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it could be a security risk, but if you're going to install the system, you want to double click it, and you don't want to have to say, yeah, I do definitely want to execute it.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
No, other than that, I didn't have any issues with it. I noticed you fixed the start menu. Windows thing. The menu where you would go and search, and it would keep the search in there.
The menu where you would start your activity.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. But it used to hold the search item in there. So even when you, say you started typing Firefox and you would type fire, you would hit enter. Firefox would open fine, but then you would go back to the menu and open it, and fire would still be sitting in there, the word. So that no longer happens. So that's
yay. That should have been solved for 2 months now. But yeah, definitely, that is something we did solve
from the last time I tried it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But one thing I did want to mention earlier that I put in the chat is people have been talking about Discover. Discover in both Ubuntu and Lubuntu 18.10. Apparently, it's bad, really bad.
Apparently.
That's an understatement.
It's the first I've heard of it.
Has everybody who's tried either Lubuntu or Ubuntu, the beta, have you tried Discover?
Yes, I have.
Apparently, it's trash.
Yes.
Well, it's not okay. It's not trash. It's 5.13 is actually usable.
Says the KDE contributor, but
yeah. Your point?
There just might be a little bias.
No. 5.11 was utter trash. 5.12 was actually reasonable, and 5.13 is they're getting better and better. 5.13 is actually solid. 5.14, which is coming out next week, will be
Okay, but here, let me
Hopefully
say
better.
this.
But what
Let me
are they
say this.
using?
And I was thinking about this when I was reading the KDE, Nate Graham's blog about KDE. And he's mentioning all the fixes. And I bring it up because you just said basically the same thing. And he's going through the list and he's saying, this is fixed. This actually works. This works better. And I'm thinking to myself, but at the time, you wouldn't have said that worked terrible. So at the time, you said 5.11 was terrible or trash, but at the time, you probably wouldn't have said
No,
5.11 was
totally I
trash. I don't know about that, Mike.
No, I even said that to Nate, and he said it's not that bad. I was like, yeah, it is. Like it's got it used to have a problem where it would crash when I'm trying to install something, or when 5.11 was one of the worst ones because I would go to install something and it would say, "Here's a bunch of errors." It's still installed, but for some reason it gave me a bunch of irrelevant errors of categories missing and stuff. Like, why is this even a thing? And I wasn't even looking at categories. It was just a basic deb install. So it was bad back then, but now I don't think it's good, but it's good enough. Like it has the potential you can see the potential actually growing now.
But there's a difference between potential and what actually works.
Yes, but I think that it's good enough where you can see that it's meeting its potential and to a point.
It has potential, but it should not be the default.
I still agree with that, and it also isn't with Ubuntu.
Well, what version's on Lubuntu?
Muon.
The Lubuntu has the same exact version Ubuntu does in 1810.
And what
So,
version?
Yeah, but I mean, what is
that's 5.13. 5.13.
It's 5.13.5, I believe.
Yeah, 5.13.5. Yeah.
Simon, does Lubuntu use Discover?
Yeah, we use Discover by default, but looking at how things are, I don't know if there's a different alternative out there that's actually
It's called the console.
No, I would say consider what Ubuntu did and ship both Discover and Muon.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree.
Because we are shipping both Discover and Muon, that's a thing, but I just don't know if there's another option we could use, because like I said, I'm hearing a lot of usability problems with Discover. I don't personally use Discover. I use the terminal. But
no, it's gotten a ton better. Like the 5.13 still had the pointless, ridiculous banners of coffee at the top or whatever. Yeah. Like it had terrible stuff like that. And every single version. So 5.13 actually has it a much more software center interface that's it's a lot more efficient with its space. It gives you access to stuff that's a lot better, has better sorting, all this other stuff. It's actually a good one. So I think that it's a good option to use at this point. It used to not be, and when people said, why is it shipping by default, I would go, use Muon. Yeah. But now it's 50-50. Use which one you want.
So the main question I have at this point, because with Lubuntu, I'm sort of realizing that some people aren't testing. There's a lot of edge cases people aren't testing. So I guess my main goal is to shoot for 2004 as everything is working completely solid. Is Discover going to be there?
I think Discover will be that at that point. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think by that time it should be, unless they really screw it up, it should be way better, miles past what it is now.
Yeah, I think that because they're changing so much. Like if you look at the Plasma release notes when they're coming out, I think the beta release even has this, where you see that the majority of what's interesting about this release is the Discover improvements, the firmware update and stuff like that. There is a lot that's coming in Discover. So I think if you look at the amount of pace that it used to have versus what it has now, it's pretty much a guarantee that by 2004 it'll be solid.
Okay.
I still wouldn't trust it to update my firmware, but.
Got a question, guys.
Would you trust GNOME software with the firmware?
No. Go ahead, Michael.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. We've got a question about the Muon package manager. Those of you who tried Lubuntu or KDE, have you experienced any problems with Muon being slow when caching and searching and so on?
Not really, but also I don't use it enough to have fully tested it. But I would say that the Muon used to be deprecated, and then it was picked back up within, I think, 6 months ago. So they might still have time where they're trying to.
Okay, when I compare it to Synaptic, for example, it's much slower. Synaptic is much faster when you search about packages or just using it in the.
Yeah, I believe that. But Synaptic has had like 15 years of development.
Okay, yeah.
So.
I just wanted to know if it's just me or if it's someone else experience.
Well, I haven't tested enough, but I'd say it's not surprising considering the amount of how much time they've had on it. But I haven't tested enough, so I can stop talking.
Yeah.
Wait,
what? I didn't think that was a possibility.
That happened? Yeah.
That actually happened. All right, we got to pick a distro for this week.
Anyway, guys, it's been fun, but I need to get to bed. I'm falling asleep over here. So
okay, Ricky.
Good night.
See you, man.
Good night. Well, my recommendation is let's give Antix 17.2 a kick around the system.
Dolphin, what do you think about that?
Okay. I have a suggestion. Somebody I know was trying a distro called TinyCore recently, and it's like a 16 megabyte ISO or something like that. It's super, super, super tiny.
And it's got absolutely no application. So what's
I don't think you can live in that.
It's a base to build your own on top of. It's not meant for regular usage.
Well, I have a suggestion. We all tried one of the 1810s, but there are so many flavors out there. My suggestion would be that we switch to a different flavor of 1810 than what each of us tried this week. Climby will be really hard to press to find one.
I've got this studio and Kylan.
But if, say, like I tried Lubuntu, this week I would have to try Kubuntu or one of the other flavors, just because there are so many flavors to try. What do you think?
Oh, we can try it.
I can try Ubuntu Mate to look at their scaling and see how, or not their scaling, but their font rendering and see how they actually did that. That's actually something I'm going to look at. So
which one has a 12-hour clock?
Huh?
Well, like the Mate, it only has a 24-hour clock. You can't change it to 12. That's like a deal breaker for most people.
You can do that.
I think you can.
What?
Depends on where we're from. Here is not a deal breaker. It's perfect.
Pretty much anyone not in the U.S. doesn't care and uses that 24-hour.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you can change that.
Yeah, I think there's bound to be a code somewhere to change that.
Yeah, here's the point. You're talking about using the terminal to alter it.
No, I don't think so.
No, I thought there was something in the settings.
Where it says time format, there'll be like a %F, %C or something. You change that and you can
find the GUI for that. I've dug really deep in Mate. It's not there.
And it's not there on any. It's
oh,
not
yeah,
there on
Manjaro has it. They have
has
a
it.
section right in their clock where you go in and just check 12 hours.
You can't right click the clock. There's not a settings.
Pretty sure
Nope.
Ubuntu. Is it Ubuntu or is it? It might be
Ubuntu has
actually Ubuntu Budgie. But there is a website where you can you punch in what you want. It'll give you the formula. And I got to that website from one distro, and I can't remember which one it was.
I think that was Budgie you did that video on.
Did I mention that KDE does that?
You just say I want 24-hour or 12-hour.
Yeah, you just check a box.
I'm not saying that all distros are like that and all desktops are like that. There's a selected few where you don't have the option in the GUI to change it to 12 hours.
That's interesting because I would have thought if they didn't have the option that it would follow whatever the locale settings are because that's a standard time code.
Yeah.
That may just be a bug in the user.
You get the 24-hour if you select Detroit.
Right. It's the time clock format, the % symbol codes. You can change those and it'll change it. You have to know what the right ones are.
Change it unless you want to do the terminal route.
It's not a terminal route. You just right mouse click it and go properties and then click custom and type what you want.
That's right. Should be. I know about March.
Yeah, when you hit custom format, you would have to find the actual codes that you want it to say.
Okay, it's not in an easy place to figure out. It's not where the clock is. Where this clock just pulls up a calendar and that's it.
That's when
even if you right mouse click it.
Yeah, what happens if you right-click it, Dan?
Right-click the mouse and then click Properties.
There's no properties, just preference.
Same thing.
Well, thank you. It's there.
There
and
you
then
go.
Go down to where it shows the time. It's normally like %R or something in capitals.
I've been beating my brains out looking for this thing.
Well, now you can rest easy, Dan.
Well, no, I'll know how to do it for other distros.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, Dan brings up a good point. That's one of those things back in I don't know 14.4 or 15 on MX. We spent an inordinate amount of time figuring out who to set 12-hour and who to set 24-hour by default. It's irritating to set that up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't know, some of our users are international and they're like, well, yeah, it says 24-hour in the locale file, but not really. We're 12-hour. So
no, not really.
How am I supposed to know this stuff? I don't live in wherever you're from.
All right, so let's what do we want to do this week?
Expand your horizons.
Why don't we have a mixed bag this week, Rocco? We choose our own because there is quite a few distros that have been released over the last week, isn't there?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do a mixed bag. Look,
Yeah.
it's a free week. Whichever one you want to try this week, you'll have to just let us know what it is.
Just not your
next
own.
week. Wow, he put that disclaimer in there. Just not your own.
Not your own.
Talking to you, Thomas. Talking to you.
No. Like I said, I'm gonna try Ubuntu Mate so I can get their font settings and then go back to Lubuntu and adjust the default settings.
You got that, Allie? Just not your own.
Oh, darn, I was going to rebuild my own and say, well, this is a brand new release.
Will we count Android in a virtual machine as a hop?
Actually, what I did do was Haiku Bisa. I know it's not a Linux, but that ran really well on my other laptop. I've got to admit. Anyway,
Dan.
Yeah, I've got to choose one.
Yeah, so Dan, in the YouTube chat, I've just put the for a good strife time, and all you do is you click on what you want it to display, and it will show you what code to put in. I think that's the website Colin was on about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think Rocco and the other guys helped me figure out with the Mate where it's at. It's in a different place on every distro. It drives you nuts.
Yeah, but this will also tell you which of the percentage capital A, percentage B, percentage D, what it does and how to pick it.
It's fine if you have a place to put that.
I love those codes. Like the only clock I've ever seen that actually put those codes in the preferences dialog to say, hey, these are some codes you might want to use in this custom box we're giving you is the Orage clock on XFC.
Mm-hmm.
They put
XFC
like
is the only
9
one.
or 10 common ones down at the bottom. That's kind of neat. I mean, if you're going to have a custom box, that's kind of cool. It takes like 10 minutes to put that in there. I think they'd all do that, but
yeah,
that's pretty
Plasma
neat.
has default a terrible clock, but the event calendar clock is fantastic and does do that.
Yeah, it does. It is fantastic.
Well, here's one for the preferences down by the clock. They got the place where you can change the 12 to 20, the 24 to 12. Then they got your location. You pick your city. Then they got weather, and it's set by default to metric. Now, why is the weather in with the clock and the wind speed?
Because it's
Strange.
usually attached to your calendar, and therefore it's all in one type of thing.
The wind speed?
Yeah, why not?
It's part of weather.
It's part of weather, so yeah. Weather is what people like to look up weather all the time, so they put in like conky things and stuff.
Weather
I mean,
is like
I don't care, but
there is like a serious like people will like trash your distro if they can't show their favorite weather app on it.
Yeah, or if they
Like,
don't, if
you
there's not a
really
weather
need
app
to
with
know
it.
the weather.
I can attest to this.
I'm telling you, it's absolutely phenomenal. And the people that code the conkies with the cool weather displays, I mean, those guys are like off the shelf. I mean, I don't need to know the weather that bad. I really don't. I just
Also, the people who put the weather, like the temperature in their panel, like their main panel, like it's right next to their system tray. It's like, why? It's not changing that much, like that often.
So I'm going to finish with two things. One, I need to go. Two, I'm going
You
to
use weather in your panel.
No, I'm going to try to install Ubuntu 18.10 on the Dell, and we'll see how that goes next week.
Nice.
And my final word is that Linux lives forever. Thanks, guys. I gotta go.
See you, sister.
Yeah.
See you, sister.
And
Ubuntu's
on
a
that
good one
note,
because it's
we're
got
gonna
the
go.
13.
Michael, we're gonna go.
What? Okay, fine.
Rocco says we have to leave.
All right. I think that for everybody's sake, just for familiarity and for people that don't know, we should probably, when we do the last word tonight, mention whatever you want to mention as far as what you were involved with, like Zeb with Destination Linux and the YouTube channel, and each of us can put in what we were related to so that people know and put a face to it, because every so often we should do that because of new people coming on and watching and listening, whatever.
Are you giving me the go ahead to advertise?
No, absolutely not. We're going to skip the last guy. Right. Zeb, last word and intro.
Okay, last words are catch the latest episode of Destination Linux, which should be coming out on Wednesday. We've got a great guest co-presenter that joined us this week. And you can normally find me on Destination Linux, Big Daddy Linux Live, driving a truck like a maniac on YouTube, and trying to help out with what limited knowledge I have on the Peppermint forums.
YouTube.com/ZebedeeBoss.
Mm-hmm.
Tuxedo.com/Zeb.
Or that. Dark One.
You can find me on YouTube, Dark One, tuxdigital.com/Dark One, because, you know, I'll give Michael the plug.
Yep, it works.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're welcome.
You're not supposed to do that.
I know. So why do you think I did it? And you can find me contributing to some oddball distros from here to there. I actually just recently helped rewrite the front page for eLive. So like their English is actually more English.
It's actually English?
Yeah, instead of Google translated English. And you can find me looking at oddball distros, Rocco. You would know mostly about that. So other than that, that's my last. Oh, Ubuntu Kylan. That's the distro.
All right, Dan.
You find me here pretty much every week at Biddle, helping out the Lubuntu guys, and you'll find me in the chat watching, everybody else on YouTube. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Last word.
Lubuntu rocks. Liking it. It's fun. It's light. It's good.
And for those that don't know, Dan is very knowledgeable with the terminal and all kinds of Linux stuff. So if you need help in the Telegram group, he is one of the guys to go to. So,
yep.
All right, Matthew Moore.
I kind of zoned out.
You have a YouTube channel, right?
Yep, I do. I recently uploaded a video just tearing apart the new Windows 10 update, so that was fun.
And easy.
The update that tears apart your files.
I was going to say, about as good as the files that tears apart, so it's good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I haven't been doing too many videos lately, but if anybody wants to check it out, it's you could just Google my name and you'll find it. My original YouTube name was Mr. Gizmo 757.
But if they Google Matthew Moore, they should get your YouTube channel.
They should. But yeah, and I have a website now. It's techcafe.webs.com. Discord server, chat rooms, you name it. Feel free to pop in.
All right. Any last words for this week?
Yeah, don't update to Windows 10.
Famous last words. All right, Simon, last word. And where are you from?
Oh, I'm actually from Green Bay, Wisconsin, if you're asking where I'm from, but the things that I do in Linux, I guess, for the new people, I'm an Ubuntu core developer. My name's Rudolph. Lubuntu release manager, team lead. So I do all the Lubuntu stuff. You can find the Lubuntu stuff at lubuntu.me. not that .net site. Don't go to that .net site.
Don't go to
I can
.net.
tell you, don't go to .net. Otherwise, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/LubuntuOfficial. Follow us for all the nice updates. Follow us for all the stuff we're putting out. Telegram, we have telegram.lubuntu.me/developments, telegram.lubuntu.me/support, telegram.lubuntu.me/off-topic. And we even have a Spanish group, telegram.lubuntu.me/espanol. So all of the Telegram groups. You can find me just around in the middle group. Otherwise, I'm in a bunch of different groups. Yeah, go Lubuntu.
All right.
I have the release candidates. Let me know what you should think. Just test Lubuntu. Haha.
And the one good thing about Simon is he's very receptive to feedback. So if you do have any feedback, you can get with him through the Telegram group, and he will take care of you. All right, Ali.
Yeah, well, I've started a YouTube channel, Present Times on Linux. It's pretty new, couple of months. Done a few videos, but I also do my own respin of PC Linux OS using the Trinity desktop that I've really been doing for the last 3 years. You'll find that at trinity.pclinux, mypclinuxos.com. I'm also all over Facebook and Mastodon, using the Present Times or my real name, Alistair Izzard, where you can contact me. Yeah, I can't think of much else to say. And I'll be using Peppermint actually over the next week just for giggle, because I've heard so many good things about it off EB and there's everybody there. I thought, I've got to give it a try.
All right, last word, anything?
Yeah, just enjoy yourself. I enjoy my stream, so I'm here like week in, week out now. I'm more or less part of the furniture. And hope everybody enjoys their week and weekend and so on.
Yep. All right, Michael, last word.
Yeah, well, I hang out in the Telegram groups, so you'll find me there and so on, help out. And well, I try to hang out here in the show going forward, but it's the time zone are very different. So here it's 7 o'clock in the morning right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and the last word is yeah, Team Green for the win.
That's it. I love it. Yes. All right. Thanks for keeping up with us, Michael.
Absolutely. I'll be seeing you again.
All right. Colin, last word.
Well, I'm Colin Brush from PC TLC, and my videos are pretty much focused on all sorts of different topics, on new user perspectives as well, and how to help people get themselves through Linux if you're, coming in new. So I like, I'm trying to help people out as much as I can, so they can get their way through the stumbling issues from when they first get onto Linux. And I do other stuff as well, so that I find interesting and might be useful for other people. So, and my last words is I think I'll give Antics a go this week. That sounds like a challenge, so I'm going to do that.
Nice. Dave, last word.
Last word would just be a shout out to Simon and all of the Ubuntu devs, because they have done an incredible job getting the betas ready for release for 18.10. And this is pretty much the only place I am. I'm an inveterate tinkerer. I hang out in some of the Telegram groups, but mostly I just lurk.
But also very knowledgeable in the terminal and with many distros, many years of experience. So you're able to help people.
DOS baby. So I'm kind of stuck in the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right, Jansu.
Hanging out in the Telegram groups. Last word, just enjoy. Like what you do.
Short and sweet. Nice. Thomas?
Okay, so I'm the developer for Draugr OS, newer gaming OS. Other than that, I'm not all that well known in the community, but I hang out here and there. Last word, I am currently having a wallpaper competition. If you want to see your wallpaper in Draugr OS, then there will be a link in the YouTube chat to submit your wallpaper now. Well, maybe. I'll get that here in a second. Just submit that, and I will have a list of them in the next few weeks to months, depending on how that goes. And the community will get to vote, and whichever one gets the highest votes will win and be the default wallpaper. So, vote.
Nice. All right, Climby.
I'm usually hanging out in the Telegram groups, the BDLL Telegram group and the Destination Linux Telegram group is generally where I'm at. And I usually try to be on here every week. And when DistroTube has his open chat Sundays, I'm usually there as well. As far as what I'm going to run for next week, I'm not quite sure yet. I'll probably keep that a surprise. But if you're in the BDLL Telegram group, you'll probably end up knowing by tomorrow anyway.
Probably.
But yeah, it's been really fun, and I look forward to next week as always.
All right. Again, another guy that's very knowledgeable in the terminal that is willing to help people. So I encourage you to join the BDLL Telegram group, t.me/BigDaddyLinks live. And if you need any help, these guys will definitely be able to help you. Dan.
Well, I'm basically a guest on a lot of live streams. I sit in and help people where I can, comment on the news and stuff like that. I currently don't have any videos on my YouTube channel. It's just there and it's empty. I have all the equipment to do it. I just don't have the time to get around to it. I'm located about 50 miles from Detroit, Michigan.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're a little different here. We love our cars.
Go Bucks.
We love gasoline too.
OH.
Yeah. I can give you Ubuntu Studio. I've been itching to load that up on real hardware to try for next week, if that seems okay with you guys.
Yeah, whatever you want to do this week, brother.
If I can get the huge ISO, which is like 2.5 or 2.8 gigs down from the internet, we'll give it a run.
All right. Dolphin, last word.
You can find me mostly at the MX forums, forum.mxlinux.org. You can check out the blog posts over at, I don't know the address for the blog post, but there's an About Us link on the forum and on the homepage. One of the lead developers for MX Linux, contributing developer for Antix Linux. I don't know. I'm good. It's late.
And if you want to know more about him, you can go to my YouTube channel where I actually interviewed him.
Oh yeah, Dark One, and also my YouTube channel, which also works at touchdigital.com/runwiththedolphin. But it's also youtube.com/runwiththedolphin.
I wasn't the only one.
No, I had to check it real quick just to see if it worked. It totally worked. It was totally worked. But
I should try it myself one day.
We're been doing a bunch of updates. Mostly I've been working on the NVIDIA installer a little bit, and we're getting ready to go full disk encryption with our main installer. So that's one feature we've been missing that we're finally going to add this time. So
sweet, nice, Michael.
So I'm Michael Tennell with Tux Digital at tuxdigital.com. That's it. And
tuxdigital.com/Tux Digital.
Tux Digital, right. So also I'm part of Destination Linux, one of the hosts of Destination Linux. So you can check that out at destinationlinux.org or tuxdigital.com/Destination Linux just because. And you can also check out here's the thing. This is breaking news. Product review that I said I'm going to do it's coming on Tuesday.
We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah. Well, it's already edited and ready. It's just rendering now.
We'll believe it when we see it.
Okay. So I'll be rendering until 2022.
No,
pretty much.
It's coming. Okay. Coming. It's tuxdigital.com/eventually.
He's got a point there.
Let's look that up.
I don't think
it doesn't exist by the time you look it up.
I should probably make that one though.
All right. I think that'll be it for this week. My last word is thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. If you want any more information about this show, you can go to BigDaddyLinks.com and or tuxdigital.com/BigDaddyLinks.
Yep.
There you go.
Join us on Telegram. And other than that, we will see you next week. Everybody have a great week.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Remember,